I'm Annie, and I am the past.
This is Annie. You're the past. Now, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? Well, we're ready. Let's go on the count of three. Annie, with the past. 1, 2, 3. Begin.
There will never be as many Rainforest Cafes as there used to be. The same can be said about many of the world's greatest things, roller rinks, pressed pennies, moderate temperatures, to name a few. Unless I mention the personal toll that the passage of time will only continue to take on my sensitive stomach and burgeoning medical debt. They say the body keeps the score, but so does the brain, and mine is getting smoother every night when another AI-generated made-for-Netflix Christmas movie about a big-city girl boss fashion influencer home for the small-town holidays reconnects with her high school flame who, despite, nay, because of his scraggly beard and limited vocabulary, wins back her heart and makes her less of an icy bitch. And I know what you're thinking because it's what we've all been told to think. That sounds a lot like Sweet Home Alabama, but worse. Not that that matters because my omnipotent electronic devices also know that I can't afford to go to the doctor and get my knees tapped, so I'll settle for 6 hours of reflexively spoon-feeding myself mind-numbing, stool-softening content to sedate me into tomorrow. But before I start the slop marathon, I do the dishes and wash my armpits, eat my weekly vegetable, and drink half a glass of water. Which is to say that anything is possible. The only hope for the future is the past, bloated with options and the promise of nothing but everything you could ever want. In the next 60 seconds, I could write the next great American novel. I could conjure the cures for disease and heartache and rush hour traffic. I could talk your uncle out of his politics and finally get around to opening a high-yield savings account. I could apologize, I could re-engage, I could be the bigger person, I could do exactly the right thing at the right time, the thing that will make me and everyone I love better and happier and healthier, as long as it's still 60 seconds ago. 60 seconds ago, I could do anything. When I was little, I wanted to be a writer, and by writer, I mean live above a Chinese restaurant in New York City with a rotating cast of sexy, interesting people who would coincidentally think that I am the most interesting person in the world. I would host incredible dinner parties, ones with lots of vegetables, that lasted all night long, and wear patterned blazers with light-washed denim jeans in an effortlessly chic kind of way. For this and this alone, I would receive critical acclaim and never have to write another word. You've all seen the quote. You know the one from Facebook.com. At age 23, Tina Fey was working at a YMCA. At age 27, Vincent van Gogh failed as a missionary and decided to go to art school. At age 28, J.K. Rowling was a single parent living on welfare. Well, at age 9, I was in 4th grade, but I had already penned my first novel. It was called The Bittersweet Files and was a weaving together of several seemingly disconnected stories. One about a shipwreck, another about imaginative cheese varieties that can be found on the moon. All of these stories coalesce through a shared narrator named Gerald Oliver Dickens, initials G.O.D. God. They're also steeped in what I believed at the time to be rich, evocative metaphors, which are almost exclusively about death. And I quote, I picture life as a cup of wine that is being drunken out of every day. When your glass is empty, you evaporate. I picture death as a flickering candle, always shall it burn. The moon glistened as bright as butter on a stack of fresh homemade blueberry pancakes. That was when I died. The ghouls spit, hissed, and flew into a fiery blaze of inner blackness. Was I to go to the underworld? But why? Then I saw it, a flash of white robes. My teacher, Mrs. Roller, helped me put the pages into a spiral-bound book and used the laminator to make a special cover. I knew with certainty that it was good, and therefore I was good, because I had nothing and no one else to compare it to. Embarrassment and self-judgment are the lifeblood of the future, but in the back then, we are all pioneers on the precipice of our own speculative definitions of greatness. Never mind that Saturday Night Live peaked in the mid-2000s. Van Gogh went on to shoot himself, and my friends repeatedly expressed their desire for J.K. Rowling to do the same. There's only up from the Remember when Rent was a foreign concept and ChatGPT wasn't even in utero. My own expectations could go unadjusted for inflation and forest fires and the impending bankruptcy of Delia's clothing store, the last place I ever bought good pants. Accumulated ignorance could still resemble something like confidence, and the future would be whatever I hypothesized. The comedian Whitmer Thomas has an album called The Older I Get, The Funnier I Was. And after seeing him perform for a second time recently, recycling old zingers that have gone slightly stale, not dissimilar to what I am doing tonight, I think this is true. I also think that the older I get, the funnier everything else was, like the pure, simple joy that came with being on the drawing or receiving end of one of those Superman S's. The older we get, the more complicated everything gets. There are infinitely more potential consequences that you can't possibly account for to your body and to your brain, for your neighbor and their grandchildren's children, for the creature-filled lake and the blue-graying sky above. The more people we love will be gone, there will be far more lasts than firsts, and paradise will only exist as a screensaver. It will be darker and deadlier than your past self could have ever imagined. Already, hope and morality feel like vintage ephemera with value that does not accrue in the hearts of those strong-arming us into 2026 and beyond. Beyond, which is full of thirsty cups and other people drinking rose-colored wine that could have been yours if you did or didn't do that one thing that kept you up all night. The devil we don't know is there in the beyond, armed with lessons gone unlearned and an overheating robot brain that is the surface area of the moon and already drained all the rain from the non-cafe forests twice over. So let's go back instead, before the disappointing remakes and the disappointful regrets, when there was so much to gain and almost nothing to lose, and the future was still in our eager and health-insured hands.